Have you ever found yourself drawn to partners who feel a little bit like a project? The ones you feel you can help or maybe even fix? Well, today we're going to dive deep into that powerful pull. We're going to break down why being needed by someone can sometimes feel so much safer and, weirdly, even more like home than simply being loved.
So let me just ask you straight up. Think about your relationship history for a second. Are you often the one who's attracted to people with all this amazing, untapped potential? People who you think, with just a little bit of your help, your love, could finally get their life on track? If you're nodding along right now, then you are absolutely in the right place.
All right, so let's get into what we're calling the fixer-upper instinct. And it's really important to see this as way more than just a simple preference, like having a type. It's almost always a much, much deeper, more ingrained pattern of behavior. So what are we actually talking about when we say the fixer-upper dynamic? Well, it's this recurring pattern, this habit of choosing partners that you see as needing help or improvement. It's less about finding an equal partner, and it's a whole lot more about finding a project. And you can kind of see how these traits just build on each other, right? It often starts with this feeling of responsibility for someone else's baggage. Then you find yourself falling for their potential, not who they are right now. Before you know it, you're convinced that your love can literally save them. And that's when your own self-worth gets all tangled up in how useful you are. The inevitable result? Your own needs get pushed way, way to the back. Okay, so that's the what of the situation. But the big question, the one we're really here to unpack, is why. Why is this pull so incredibly strong for so many of us? It's definitely not a simple choice, and the answer, well, it usually lies years and years in the past. And to find that origin, we have to go way back. For a lot of people, this entire pattern was forged in a childhood, where they had to take on responsibilities that were way beyond their years. Basically, a time when their childhood ended a little too early. At its very core, the whole pattern starts right here. When a child has to become a caretaker, maybe for a parent, a sibling, or just the whole family, they learn this really powerful and really sticky lesson about their place in the world. This process usually unfolds in a few clear steps. First, the child starts taking on adult roles, like being the family peacemaker or an emotional support system. Then they get praised for it. They hear things like, "Oh, you're so mature for your age," or "You're such a good helper." And that leads to the final crucial lesson. Their worth becomes identical to their usefulness. They learn that love isn't something you just get, it's something you have to earn by taking care of other people. So all of that learned behavior as a kid, it creates this central conflict that plays out in our adult relationships. It sets up this deep, fundamental confusion between what it feels like to be needed and what it feels like to be truly loved. And this right here, this is the absolute core of it all. On one side, you have being needed. What does that feel like? Control. You have a clear job. You're the helper, the giver, the savior. It's active. It's predictable. But on the other side, you have being loved. And that requires vulnerability. It means you have to just receive care without doing anything to earn it. And for someone who learned their worth comes from what they do, that can feel terrifyingly unfamiliar. It's unknown territory. And this is exactly why that feeling of being needed becomes such a comfort zone. It's a role you know how to play, inside and out. The chaos of a partner's problems can actually feel more manageable than the quiet intimacy of a healthy relationship. Why? Because in that chaos, you have a purpose. It's predictable. It feels like home. Now, understanding all of this doesn't mean you're doomed or stuck. Actually, it's the exact opposite. It's the very first step toward a completely new perspective, one that can help you finally move beyond that fixer role. And please, if you take away one thing from our time together, let it be this. This pattern is not a character flaw. It's not a weakness. It was a brilliant, incredible survival skill that helped you get through a really tough situation as a kid. You learned to be useful because it kept you safe. The only thing that's changed is that now, as an adult, that same skill might be the very thing holding you back from the connection you really crave. So, we'll leave you with this final thought to chew on. Recognizing the pattern is step one, but the real journey, that begins when you consciously decide to shift your focus. What might actually change in your life and in your relationships if you let go of that intense drive to be needed and instead just started learning how to be loved? It's a powerful question to think about. Thanks so much for joining me.